Pause Live, the UK's largest menopause event. Get solutions to your symptoms. Meet over 70 brands and laugh out loud at our live stage. Plus, free taster sessions in our wellness hub. Come and connect with your tribe. Tickets are from just $10.99. Get your sparkle back and head over to pauselive.com.
And we have our guest. Hello, Ant.
Hello.
So, Ant, tell us about our brains, how you got there, what we can do to make life better. Help us, we need you.
Do you know, the scary thing is that most people have no understanding or awareness of what their unconscious mind is thinking 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. It just runs like on autopilot, and because it's unconscious, we don't know about it. But because it's always making decisions based upon our previous learnt values or beliefs or habits, it just does stuff, and it makes us do things that are not necessarily what we want in life. Because when I work with clients and people, most people want a different outcome in life, right? Most people want a change of some kind, but they still do the stuff they've always done. Mm-hmm. And well, you know, if you always do the same thing, you're always going to get the same output.
Yeah, if you always do what you've always done, then you always get what you always got.
Absolutely. It's one of my phrases too. I love that. Yeah.
So the thing is, Ant, tell us about how you got to this point.
Okay. So I'm from a working class background, you know. I didn't go to university or any of that. I just worked really hard, and mum and dad kind of installed that knowledge and that whole value structure of just working hard to get what you want in life. You know, nothing's given to you on a plate. So I did just work really, really hard. And the next bit I'm going to say isn't showing off. It's just what happened, because it kind of puts a stick in the mud as to why I do what I do now. And I worked so hard. I started work when I was 13, doing an egg round of all things. And I run several businesses, and I had some lovely successes, but some fantastic failures on the way as well. But by the time I got to 2015, what was really, really weird is that I was that self-made person, you know, and it's vulgar to talk about the amount of money, but I had everything that we always think we want, right? I had all the money we always think we want. I was really into my cars. I had 19 of the buggers. I don't know what I was going to do with 19 cars, but that was just a crazy thing that we get into this material way of thinking, don't we? And I ended up with all this wealth and success, a lovely partner, great kids, a superb home. Everything was all tickety-boo, 2 lovely businesses. So everyone would think that I should be happy, right? Because, you know, that's what we all think. And like 2.4 washing machines and all that kind of stuff. But what was really, really weird was the more I was achieving success, shall we say, from a materialistic point of view, the more unhappy I was getting. The next bit I'm going to talk about is a little bit of a dark place, but don't worry, there's a really positive outcome to this, right? So, but I have to take us there to understand what drove me to do, answering your question, what I do now. And although I was really successful materialistically and everyone thought I was a happy, jolly fellow, I ended up so unhappy that I ended up in such a dark place. It was actually April 2015 when I decided enough was enough and I was going to exit the planet. And this is crazy because although I had everything everyone thinks, that's it. I in my mind, I thought I wasn't creating a good outcome for my family and my kids, you know, because as entrepreneurs, we create chaos, right? And that's what I was doing. I was creating chaos and upset by producing wealth and success and all this stuff. But it was April 2015. I remember it as clear as anything. I was sitting at the farm. I was sitting on a farm table and I was about to disappear off this planet. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was 30 seconds away. How about this really weird thinking? I remember thinking, oh, the kids are at school. It's a good time to disappear. It's like, this is madness. But when we're in that place, we don't always think, right? And this next bit is a tough call, but it's reality. I did the hardest thing that any human being can ever do, which was write my goodbye notes to my kids. Jeez, that was really tough, right? And I was about to disappear. I can remember it's clear as, and a robin came down and sat down beside me. And when this robin sat down beside me, it chirped. And I thought, why are you chirping? And then it hit me. And I thought, that robin is either shouting out for its mate, defending its turf, or calling out for its kids. And when those three things hit me, I thought, crikey, that's the most important thing in life, isn't it? It's not all this money and cars and wealth and all this stuff trying to pretend, to be acceptable for everybody else. What will they think of me? All that kind of stuff. The most important thing, of course, was my kids, my partner, and my turf, my home security. Crikey, and when that happened, it was like a massive wake-up call. I'm not a religious guy. I don't go down that road, but it was like a massive epiphany. It was like a massive wake-up call to me. And what I realized at that point was that, one, I never want to be in this position again for me, my family, my loved ones. So that was the most important thing. Secondly, I thought, I'm quite a switched on fella. So if I've ended up in this pickle, lots of other people will be too. So we've got to stop this. We've got to find out why this has happened. And I went on a mission for 5 years. And my 5 year mission was 5 years R&D. So I was researching the big minds, like Tesla and Einstein, all those guys, just to understand, what is this thing we call life? What is it really all about? And I know they're really deep searching questions, but I had to understand that as a foundation. And then I needed to understand, so why do human beings feel the way we feel? What makes all four of us get up in the morning? And what is it that creates that physical feeling? Why do we feel the way we feel? Then the next thing was, why do we do the things we do? What's the motivation to get to that stupid, dark place that I was in? And I say stupid because that's how I felt I was at the time, but actually it's a very serious place. And the last one was, what could I do to be the best version of myself for me and my loved ones? Not for everybody else, not for the world, but for my little gang. And I found the answer. And after 5 years of R&D, I wrote a book, my little book called Quick Wake Up the Pilot, which we might get into later on. And that little book just summarizes why and how human beings do the things we do, why we feel the way we feel, but most importantly, how we can be the best we want to be. And I was working with the Swiss School of Business Research. They deemed it as a PhD. So I became a doctor at 58. So I now call myself doctorant, and I'm sort of working with this. And what then happened was that I realized I need to get this out. I need to get this out to people. Long gone are those years of take, because that's what took me to that materialistic dark place. But I'm now in the place of give. I always give the best I can because I know if I always put the best out, the best always comes back, right? That's what life is, isn't it? It's energy, it's a mirror. What we put out, we get back, Some people call it karma, some people call it law of attraction, call it whatever you like. At the end of the day, I know what it is that creates us what we are. And the answer to all of that stuff, I could sum up in a few words. And it's all about what we think, because whatever we think, we become. And it depends on what we're thinking, and those thought processes is what we actually end up being materialistically, from a social point of view, from a materialistic point of view, from a physical, from a mental point of view. Whatever's going on in this mind jumble is what our life ends up being. The challenge is, of course, as I said at the beginning, that most of us don't know what we're thinking 95% of the time. We just live life like robots. I'm sure that we've all done it when you're driving down the road and you get home and you go, was the traffic light red? Did I just run a granny over? We have those thoughts and we just don't know what's gone on. And of course,
is it a design fault in humans, do you think?
No, it's our way of coping. It's our coping mechanism, because our unconscious mind can process 1,000,000 times more data per minute compared to the conscious mind, the prefrontal cortex, our conscious intent. So when us four are sitting here right now, when we're focusing on what we're talking about, that's our conscious mind. We're not thinking about our digestion, our blood pressure, whether it's sunny outside. We're constantly engaged in the here and now, and that's where we need to be to come up with rational thinking. But because the unconscious mind is so much more vast, it's like David and Goliath, it can process stuff automatically. And that's in our favor, because when we get stressed, when we go into fight, flight, freeze, and like when we were cavemen and that lion used to come in the cave to attack us, we had to think on the spur of the moment to deal with it. We couldn't think, oh, that's a nice lion, I wonder who that belongs to. We just didn't have the time to think about that.
Yeah.
We just had to either fight, flight, or freeze. And the only way we could do that is to stop our rational mind interfering in our thought processes. Mm-hmm. The challenge is, and here's the not the design flaw, but we were never designed to be living on stress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We were meant to use this superpower of the unconscious mind to help us fight, flight, or freeze, to get out of a problem, get out of a pickle, and then go back to homeostasis, and to become back to that calm, prepared, loving environment. But we don't, because we're attacked every day, whether it's adverts of you're not good enough, you should look like this, you should be like this, or whether it's bank statements or financial pressure or partners or demands. And we're just living in stress 24/7. And there's so much more I could talk about that. But look, I've been talking so much here, and I feel like I've monopolised the
I've
situation.
never known these so quiet. Please come on again.
I know. Honestly, Anne, you know what? When you said about the robin, that a friend of mine who's a psychic says that a robin is actually from, you know, departed soul. So maybe it was somebody actually, maybe that, because that was the epiphany for you, wasn't it?
I agree. Yes.
Yeah. So perhaps it was somebody, you know, that had passed on and was saying to you, no, you're not done yet. You've got a lot more to give.
Right. Do you know, I totally agree with you on that, Dee, because my mum is a clairvoyant, right? So my mum is, she's a spiritualist clairvoyant. She's a reverend, spiritualist reverend. And
Wow.
there's another funny story to that. I might tell you in a minute. But my mum has always been like very aware spiritually. And until my 2015 wake-up call, I just sat on the fence. I would never diss my mum because my mum is an absolute legend. She really is. But I always thought, you know, I don't quite understand it. But having gone through what I've gone through now, I understand it completely. And when I work with companies, because what I do now is I help companies and teams deal with transformation and change and fear and all that kind of stuff, all mindset stuff that, you know, stops us being the best that we want to be. I now realize what it's all about. And my mum uses the word like spiritualism and angels and stuff like that. And I use the terminology, which sounds a little bit more cold, but it's like quantum entanglement. It's that we're all connected at source. We're all connected as one. If we go right back to our roots of roots of roots, we all come from the same place. We all come from the same space rock. We all come from the same space dust. We're all made of the ground. You know, we all eat and consume matter from the ground. And when we die and crumble, we go back into the ground for somebody else to consume. So we're always of that recirculating matter. And there's a whole another theory about that, but we are just around 7 trillion cells of matter made up from other life forms that have gone on before, where we still carry those memories within our DNA. And those memories can also carry forward past trauma, through generational trauma.
So the way that we all behave and interact is programmed from when we're tiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
From way back, even inside a womb, maybe, you know,
yes.
It can begin. But just the way we are with people, the way we interact with people, it starts in your early childhood.
Yeah, there's actually, I follow this guy called Professor Bruce Lipton. When I was in a pickle in 2015, when I was like coming out the other side, I needed to understand and wake up. He was one of my saviors. He was a guy that I found. And if people are into this stuff, I'd highly recommend looking him up. He's called Professor Bruce Lipton. And he wrote a book called Biology of Belief. Now, I really listen to this guy because he's a stem cell scientist. So from a bloke, because I'm a normal, like, logical, practical bloke, right? Less so now than I used to be, because I'm a lot more aware of emotions and all that stuff now. But I needed to understand things from a scientific point of view as well. And Professor Bruce Lipton proves and shows how our emotions are created by the way we feel, which is created by our thoughts, which is created by learned experience, which is created by memory, which is created by a DNA structure. And all this can be affected actually from conception. It can be from the point of conception that has an impact on who you are and what you are in life.
Wow. Yeah. And I think the thing is, I mean, sometimes, and I'm sure we've all had this, of course, you know, that deja vu feeling when you walk in somewhere and you know it, and it's very strange, but it's still really it's such a feeling. And also, you know, with all of the little tiny things, when you first meet people, sometimes you don't gel with them and you think, that's weird. You know, all of those things.
Well, you do gel with them. I mean, sometimes you meet somebody and you think, oh my God, I've met this person before. Yeah. You know, you have that feeling, don't you? And I do
yeah. I do talk about that, about why we get on with some people and why we don't with others.
Why is that?
Why?
Right. Okay. So if a business was to ask me to come in and talk to their teams about getting on and creating engagement, if I was to answer them, first of all, like I'm going to explain to you now, they might think I'm a bit of a nutter. So I have to put some commercial words around this. And the reality is that we're just energy. And what we are, we're just bundles of energy. We're around 70 trillion cells, and within each cell is an atom. You know, so we've got a nucleus, a membrane, and within inside that, we're at the very base form, we have an atom, and an atom is an energy cell. And what happens is that energy cell becomes and reacts depending on what message it gets from the outside world. And that outside world can be the environment. So that can be the air we breathe, what we see, what we feel, what we eat, all that kind of stuff. But actually, it's also about the chemical arrangement around the cellular structure that changes what it feels and what it becomes. And when I say about what we think we become, if we are in a stressful state and we are angry, we release cortisol and adrenaline into our bloodstream, right? And that makes us angry and gives us extra power and focus and all that kind of stuff. But what actually happens is our cellular structures react to anger in a certain way, and we change our vibrational frequency. It changes how we act and react. Now, this next bit, I'm going to say, please don't shoot me down when I say this is going to sound like I'm being sexist, because I'm absolutely not sexist at all, right?
No, you're
And
the
it's
only one
actually-
wearing pink.
oh yeah, but actually it's to the detriment of blokes. What this is, if us four was to walk into a room of 100 people, you three would know much faster than me who's having an affair with who's seeing who shouldn't be there, who's got the ump, who's just had an argument, because you just pick up on this stuff, right? Because you've got that intuition. That's how females are so much stronger from an emotional intelligence point of view, because you pick this up intentionally. And us blokes are just like, we haven't got a clue, right? Until we start saying, what's up with you? What? And then we start to pick the clues up. But it's all about energy, because when we are in a certain, let's face it, if I come on here today and I was like, hello, can you just imagine how boring that's going to be? And people won't engage, will they? Because we engage to energy. And to answer your question, Dee, like, why do we get with some people, not with others? Because when we express emotion, if you can imagine we're hooked up to a heart monitor machine, you know, and you see the bips going up and down. Well, if we're all going up and down in the same frequency or in harmony, we feel right with that person because we're in tune with them. And we even use phrases like they're on the same wavelength. Yeah? We use these phrases without being aware of it. And then we say things like, well, I get a bad vibe about them. Yeah, vibration of energy. It's all about energy.
Yes.
So if a company was asking me to help them, what I'd actually be doing is getting everyone on the same wavelength. But if I was to go and say, right, boys and girls, we're going to talk about energy and emotions and frequency, they think, you know.
Well, somebody once said it to me about their ex-wife. They said, she's on a different plane to me. I said, what do you mean? Yeah. He said, I'm on the plane to Russia and she's on the plane to Ibiza.
I love that.
And I love that too. I thought it was so funny, but it's true. But I fall in love with people instantly. And I don't mean this just, I mean, like I fell in love with Natalie the second I met her, which is bizarre. And so with Dee as well. So I tend to really like people, even if they don't like me very much to start with. I will sort of.
You're very quick, aren't you, Debbie? You're Debbie's very quick to hone in on what she likes and what she doesn't like about somebody. I'm much slower.
Did it take you longer to love me?
Well, I'm still thinking about it, which tells you how long it's taking. Yeah. And I know it's true. Of course I do.
But we're all different, aren't we?
Took me a while, didn't it, Debbie?
Well, yeah, but you were like, Dee completely closed off. Very interesting. You went through a period where you didn't speak to anyone, didn't like anyone, didn't talk to anyone for years, actually.
Yeah. It was after my mum died, actually, that I decided I had to go into a like reclusive kind of place, you know. And also my granddaughter was diagnosed with leukemia. And that was just horrific. And actually, she's just rang the bell at the end of her treatment. So, which is fantastic. But it was like, you know, everything happened that year. And suddenly I needed to, you know, take to the ground and not see anyone. But I mean, actually, Debbie, you pulled me out of it, really. You really did.
Yeah. I had to say to her, for God's sake, Dee, put some makeup on. Do you know what? Ever since saying those words, I now can't get her out of the house because she's spending hours putting makeup on.
I won't even get on FaceTime with you. Like, no, I can't. I haven't got my makeup on.
I just finished this book, right? Another book. This one. It's nothing to do with me. I just read it, and it's about why you're depressed and how to find hope. And do you know, the thing that I really learned about this is that
Oh, look.
oh, you got it as well. It's fantastic. You read it all. It's brilliant.
Look at
Wow.
you. We're on the right vibration, you see.
We are.
He's fabulous, isn't he, Johan
Love
Hari?
him. The thing that I took out of it, Natalie, at the end of it was that, you know, if we put our fingers over a gas hob, you know, it burns, doesn't it? Right, so we pull it away. And the same is like if we cut ourselves, we move away. But what tends to happen is that people, I think, have confused what depression and anxiety is. And I think what I mean by it, because I know it's really serious because I was there and I know how it feels. But a lot of the time we get stuck. And actually what it is, it's a pain. Is that depression and anxiety is a feeling of pain, which is warning us and it's telling us that you're not in the right place in your life where you need to be. You need to get out of where you are. You need to change the way your life is and the way you're perceiving things, because that's how it's making you feel. So when I learned that from that book, Natalie, I went, my God, that's a real wake up. I never thought about something as simple as that, that if we look at depression as, okay, I'm having this as a signal, what else is going around in my life that's making me feel like this? Because actually, treating depression is a really difficult thing to do without understanding the cause, because if we don't deal with the cause, it's always going to come back, right? It's just like sticky plaster over the symptom, isn't it? And I'm not really into that. And that really woke that up. That was a huge thing for me to get that.
But connection and you know, having addictions of any kind, he talks about, you know, whether it's drugs or drink or whatever it is, porn, God knows what. It's because you feel disconnected and you connect to something else. And of course, you might be living with a partner who's horrified. Why are you connecting with that and not with me? And it's as simple as that. Somehow the booze or the drugs or whatever you're connecting with is a replacement for not being able to connect.
When you are acting in a play or in a film or whatever, and your lines are coming out, and you are here, aren't you? That you're in your conscious mind. And then as you get to know what you're doing, you go back into your unconscious. It's so weird.
Obviously, you work with people. Do you work individually?
Okay, so when I cut my teeth on all this subject matter, I was doing a lot of one-to-one work, and I worked with lots of clients one-to-one. But then I began to realize that this stuff that I'm talking about, it makes such a huge impact to people that actually, because I'm the more mature side of my age. Oh, by the way, being budget compliant, I now say that I'm 50 plus VAT. I think it's a much nicer way to say it.
I'm going to steal that.
My target audience tends to be about 85% female. It just happens. I guess I suppose it's because I wear pink. I don't know. I just connect with people, but blokes tend to a little bit like, oh yeah, what's this fella all about? But ladies just tend to really get it because I'm not threatening. I explain things in a realistic life way, including emotions, because that's what we are. Because let's face it, if we didn't have emotions, we wouldn't be human beings. We'd be human doings. And none of us want to be human doings. We want to be in this life. And so I've now decided, to answer your question, Dee, is that, sometimes, very exclusively, I will work one-to-one with people, you know, but the majority of my time really is out there to large groups. It's out there getting this stuff across to audiences, whether it's, 500 people in an audience or 50 people in a workshop. It's all about working with groups now, because that can make the biggest impact. And this stuff, they can take it and create ripple effects within their families, their lives. And that's what it's all about. It's all about making a positive difference in this really messed up world.
Lovely to see you. See you very soon.
Darling.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.